Well, let's get into this a bit more. The situation in the Middle East around that region, as you can see, appearing to be growing more complex. As part of those attacks this morning, Iran, used missiles to attack 2 targets in Pakistan. Iran saying they were strongholds of a Sunni militant group. Then over the last few days, Houthi groups in Yemen have been using missiles and drones to hit at least 1 American ship while attacking other shipping in the Red Sea. Of course, Israel's using a huge amount of bombs and missiles in Gaza, killing a very large number of people, over 24,000 people. That led to South Africa's accusation that Israel is guilty of genocide there. Israel's actions come after the Hamas attacks in Israel in October. Zeenat is the Deputy Executive Director at the Afro-Middle East Center. Zeenat, good afternoon to you. All right, there are many actors now in this region. They all have their own agenda. Why would Iran now attack targets in Pakistan?
I think that this is clearly a show of their force and their power. They have, over the last 2 or 3 years, shown quite a lot of restraint towards some of the rhetoric that's come out of the United States and Israel about Iran's hegemony over the region. What they've done with these attacks in Pakistan, in Syria, and in Iraq is to show the range that they are capable of. And these are very calibrated maneuvers. One of the things that really struck me was that the range reaching right until Idlib, which is 1,200 kilometers, is approximately the same as would be able to reach Tel Aviv. So it's certainly Iran saying, stop messing with us. But what this has done is it's resulted in major escalation of tensions in the region. And although they had a reasonably good relationship with Pakistan and they had negotiations over the skirmishes in Balochistan and over the issues of Jaish al-Adl, the group that they say they were targeting, that tension has certainly risen. As you've mentioned, the ambassador has been recalled. They've indicated they don't want to receive the Iranian ambassador back. He was in Tehran, and that negotiations would have to happen. I am aware, however, that the leadership of the 2 countries have met on the sidelines in Davos, and hopefully that will assist in trying to de-escalate the situation.
I realize that there are different things going on. What is it in Pakistan that Iran wants to target? I presume it's nothing to do with the Pakistan government, or is it?
Well, if we look at the targets that they've had, not just in Pakistan, but across into the other 2 countries as well, these are organizations and groups that they deem to be a threat to Iran. And these are not any of them associated with each other in any way. So in Pakistan, they've targeted Jaish al-Adl, a Sunni organization that they believe have been conducting terror acts across the border into Iran. They have also been concerned about some aspects of Pakistani security lack of maintaining security on the Afghan border, and believe that some of the attacks, including the one in Kerman just a few weeks ago at the gravesite of Qasim Soleimani on the day of the commemoration of his assassination, that was supposed to have been carried out by ISIS, and Iran alleges that Pakistan has not maintained the security around those coming across from the Afghan border.
So with the people who would be attacking Iran, that's led to Iran's response in Pakistan and other places. In some cases it's obvious. If Iran says they're targeting, an Israeli Mossad installation, that I understand. And of course the hostilities between them, the difficulties between them have gone on for some time. What then, when we have a group in Pakistan that Iran is accusing of attacking Iran, why would that group be doing that? Are they against the Iranian government? Western media will sometimes suggest there's sort of religious motives here. I don't know if that's true.
There has been low-level conflict along the Pakistan-Iran border in Balochistan and on both sides of the border with groups that have been against each other, including Jaish al-Adl. Now, both Pakistan and Iran consider it a terror organization, so there should be some meeting of the minds when it comes to that. But in this particular case, I don't think that what we're looking at is a specific targeting of this group, but more so when I look at it in the regional context. And, you mentioned targeting a Mossad output, and that's what they say they've done in Erbil in Kurdistan, killing one Kurdish oil magnate who is alleged to have Mossad links, and then attacking some of the groups in Idlib, including ISIS and Hayat al-Tahrir al-Sham. What to me this is indicating is not Iran saying that these are the groups that we're going against. They do have issues with these groups, but more so this is a message to the United States and the UK and Israel to say, stop messing with us. We need to deal with the issue of de-escalation in the region. Iran has been alleged to have links with Hamas. You've had the Hezbollah situation in Lebanon, and then, of course, Houthis presumed to be proxies of the Iranians. You've also had attacks in Iraq against American military installations, allegedly by groups sponsored by Iran. So these have been sporadic over the last few months. And I think that this has reached a point where Iran has is now indicating we are no longer going to sit back. We have the capacity to make these direct attacks, and no longer through our proxies. It's really a warning to the Western powers.
Do you think the Western powers are listening? I mean, I know many in the West think that the Houthi groups that have been attacking Western shipping in the Red Sea are Iranian proxies, and we've seen the US and the UK in the last week using their navies to hit back at some of those Houthi installations, although since then the Houthis have still been able to launch drone and missile attacks on shipping. I think everyone wants a de-escalation. I don't know how that's going to happen. It seems to me that the picture's getting more and more complicated.
It certainly is getting more and more complicated, and what we've witnessed in the last week or so is that there's an indication that the Americans are going to be deploying additional troops into the region. They've also renewed their military agreements with countries like Qatar. And of course, as you've indicated, the UK and the US have already started to conduct some military operations in Yemen. This follows a UN Security Council resolution that was passed with no veto being used by Russia or China, as has been happening in the last few resolutions, and in order to control and secure those shipping routes. Now, Iran, interestingly, has also said that they are concerned about the shipping routes. But any escalation could also result in them closing off the Strait of Hormuz, and then we have even bigger tensions on our hands. With the American deployment into the region, I think it just escalates the situation even further. And what I'm hearing from some of the Arab leaders at Davos, particularly the Qataris, the Omanis and others, indicating that there needs to be a serious de-escalation. The talks have to happen as a matter of urgency, and at the heart of all of this is the situation in Gaza. And if a ceasefire can be reached, discussions towards the ending of occupation by Israel of the Palestinian territories, then there would be guarantees for security in the region. And until that happens, they don't foresee the situation calming down.
Zeenat, this is probably an impossible, maybe quite a strange question, but for some of us in Southern Africa who don't follow it nearly as closely as you do, it would seem that none of this would be happening without what's happening in Gaza, and particularly sort of Israel's actions there. Is that true? I mean, are these attacks by Iran, the situation that we've seen with other actors, the Houthi attacks? I realize the Houthis say that they are targeting shipping that is linked to Israel or supporting Israel. But would all of this be happening without what's happening in Gaza?
I certainly think that the heightened escalation would not have taken place had the situation in Gaza been at a ceasefire, if there had been some level of discussions towards a peace agreement. What we've witnessed from the Houthis, and they haven't harmed anyone in their targets. What they have done is attacked the cargo ships. They are targeting basically capitalistic integrity, and this is what's being protected. But they've done that with the preface that they are doing so in solidarity with the Palestinians, and that until and unless Israel withdraws from Gaza and initiates a ceasefire, that they would continue with these attacks in order for the world to sit up and listen. What does that mean for us in South Africa? Well, we know that South Africa is trying to draw the attention of the world to the situation in Gaza, concerned that there is a genocide taking place, and that they've raised this at the International Court of Justice in a case against Israel. We're still waiting for the decision on the provisional measures, and we hope that that's going to be in the next couple of days, which may indicate whether or not there would be a move towards a ceasefire. But we've also heard from the Israelis that they're not going to take instructions from The Hague, and that's a really huge concern for the region. In addition to that, I think that what we would be looking at as South Africa is the increase in terms of costs to us on imports. We would be looking at an effect on our economy if this is prolonged. And certainly we would see the fuel prices being affected immediately. Today already we're looking at the currency exchange against the dollar quite low, at around 1910. So that's of huge concern, and I think that it does have an impact on what's happening in the Middle East.
So there are all of these things happening. I mean, and for years, as you know, longer than I've been alive, people have been saying that there should be peace in the Middle East. It seems further away now, perhaps, than it's ever been, despite moments of hope over the last 40 years.
It's reached a stage where things have become very depressing, and to be able to sit and watch this live on our phones and on our devices is really disheartening. But I don't think that we should be losing hope. Sometimes in situations like these, it creates a turning point, and it forces those parties to actually come to terms with the realization that there can be no military option and solution to the situation, and there has to be a discussion on the de-escalation. There has to be a discussion on ending the occupation of Palestine, and that there needs to be a move towards understanding that the Palestinian people deserve their right to self-determination.
Zeenat Adam, thanks very much indeed. Deputy Executive Director at the Afro-Middle East Centre. Very complex picture emerging in the Middle East.